The first time I saw the man in the gray coat, I was 7 years old. I was standing in my grandmother's kitchen eating a cookie when I looked out the window and saw him standing at the edge of the woods. He was tall, thin, wearing a long coat that hung past his knees, the color of winter clouds. His face was pale, and his eyes were dark, and he wasn't moving. He was just standing there, looking at me. I pointed. I said, "Grandma, who's that?" She looked. She went pale. She pulled me away from the window and closed the curtains. She said, "No one. There's no one there." I looked again. He was gone. I forgot about him. I saw him again when I was 12. I was walking home from school, cutting through the park, when I noticed him sitting on a bench. Same gray coat, same pale face, same dark eyes. He wasn't looking at me this time. He was looking at the playground, at the children on the swings. I walked faster. I didn't look back. When I was 16, he was standing outside my window. I woke up at 3 in the morning because the room was cold. I looked at the window. He was on the other side of the glass, his face pressed close, his dark eyes staring in. He wasn't breathing. The glass wasn't fogged. He was just there. I screamed. My parents came running. By the time they looked, he was gone. They said it was a nightmare. They said I was stressed about exams. They closed the blinds and told me to go back to sleep. I didn't sleep. I sat up all night watching the window, waiting for him to come back. He didn't, but I knew he would. I saw him off and on for the next 10 years, always at a distance, always watching. He never spoke. He never came closer. He just stood or sat or waited, his gray coat blending into the fog, his dark eyes fixed on me. I started to think he was a hallucination, a recurring dream, a trick of light and shadow in a mind that had never quite learned to let go of childhood fears. I started therapy. The therapist said it was a manifestation of anxiety. She gave me medication. The vision stopped. For 5 years, I didn't see him. I got married. I had a daughter. I stopped taking the medication because I felt better. I forgot about the man in the gray coat until last month. My daughter is 7 now. She has my eyes and her father's smile. She loves cookies and cartoons and the color purple. Last week, she came to me while I was making dinner. She tugged on my sleeve. She said, "Mommy, who's that man in the backyard?" I felt my blood turn to ice. I looked out the window. He was there, standing at the edge of the yard where the grass meets the woods. Same gray coat, same pale face, same dark eyes. But this time, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my daughter, and he was smiling. I grabbed her. I pulled her away from the window. I closed the curtains. I locked the doors. I called my husband. He came home early. He searched the yard. There was no one there. He said it was a trick of the light. He said she had an overactive imagination, just like me, but I knew. He wasn't a hallucination. He wasn't a dream. He was real. And he was back. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, watching the backyard through the slats in the blinds. At 2:47 a.m., I saw him. He was standing at the window, his face pressed against the glass, his dark eyes staring in, just like when I was 16. But this time, he wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me, toward the stairs, toward my daughter's room. I grabbed a flashlight. I ran outside. The yard was empty. The woods were dark, but I saw footprints in the dew. They led from the edge of the woods to the window, then back again. And in the mud, pressed deep, were the marks of a man who had been standing in one place for a very long time. I followed the footprints into the woods. They went deep, deeper than I'd ever gone. The trees grew close together. The light faded. The air grew cold. I walked for 20 minutes. The footprints ended at a tree, an old oak, massive and dark, with a hollow in its trunk. Inside the hollow, there was a coat, a gray coat, folded neatly, with something wrapped inside. I reached in. My hands touched fabric, old, soft, worn. Under the coat, I felt paper. I pulled it out. It was a photograph, black and white, faded, curled at the edges. It showed a woman, young, maybe 20. She was standing in front of a house I didn't recognize. She was smiling. And behind her, at the edge of the frame, was the man in the gray coat. He was watching her, the same way he watched me, the same way he watched my daughter. On the back of the photograph, written in pencil, was a name Evelyn and a date 1923. I turned the photograph over. I looked at the woman's face, and I realized She had my eyes, my smile, my nose. She was me, or I was her, or we were something else, something that had been repeating for a very long time. I took the coat and the photograph. I walked back to the house. I locked the doors. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I showed my husband the photograph. He didn't recognize the woman. He didn't recognize the house. He said it was probably an old relative. He said I was obsessing. He said I should go back to therapy. I went to the library instead. I searched through old newspapers. I found an article from 1923. Local woman disappears. Evelyn Marsh, 21, vanished from her home on Tuesday. She was last seen walking into the woods behind her house. Her coat was found folded neatly at the edge of the tree line. No trace of her has been found. Another article, teen 47. Another woman, another name, another photograph. Same face, same eyes, same smile. Disappeared into the same woods, 9958, 1969, 1981, 1990 years. Always a woman, always with the same face, always wearing a gray coat in the photograph, always found near the woods, always gone without a trace. My grandmother was born in 1958. She disappeared in 1979. I never knew her. My mother never talked about her. She said it was too painful. She said her mother had left, walked out one day and never came back. But I knew now, she didn't leave. She was taken by the man in the gray coat. The same man who had been watching me since I was 7. The same man who was now watching my daughter. I went back to the woods. I went back to the tree. The hollow was empty. The coat was gone. But there was something new. A small box, wooden, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. I opened it. Inside was a lock of hair, gray, dry, tied with a black ribbon, and a note, handwritten, in ink that looked like blood. Every 11 years, I choose one. She wears the coat. She walks into the woods. She joins me. Your grandmother said no. She fought. So I took her anyway. Your mother said yes. She walked into the woods willingly. She's still here. She's waiting for you. She's been waiting for 11 years. You have 1 week to decide. The coat is in your closet. Put it on. Walk to the tree, or I'll take your daughter instead. I ran home. I checked my closet. Hanging behind my winter coats where it hadn't before was a gray coat, soft, worn. The same coat from the hollow. The same coat from the photograph. The same coat my grandmother had worn, and her mother before her, and her mother before that. I touched it. It was warm. Warm like skin. And inside the pocket, I found a photograph. My daughter, at 7 years old, standing in our backyard, blowing out candles on a birthday cake. And behind her, at the edge of the frame, the man in the gray coat, watching, waiting, smiling. I have 6 days left. I've tried to burn the coat. It won't catch fire. I've tried to bury it. It digs itself up. I've tried to throw it in the river. It floats back to the bank. I've tried to run, but every time I look out the window, he's there, standing at the edge of the yard, watching, waiting. Last night, I heard my daughter crying. I went to her room. She was sitting up in bed, staring at the window. She pointed, she said, "Mommy, the man in the gray coat is back. He says you have to make a choice. He says if you don't, I have to." I looked at the window. He was there, pressed against the glass, his dark eyes staring in, his smile wider than before. I closed the curtains. I held my daughter. I told her everything was going to be okay, but I don't know if it is. Because I looked in the mirror this morning, and my reflection was wearing a gray coat. I'm not wearing a gray coat. I'm wearing a blue sweater. But my reflection was different, older, thinner. Her eyes were darker. Her smile was wider. She reached out and pressed her hand against the glass from the other side. She said, "I said yes. Now it's your turn. Put on the coat. Walk into the woods. Join us. We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for 100 years. I have 5 days left. I'm telling you this because I don't know what else to do. I can't call the police. They won't believe me. I can't leave. He'll follow. I can't fight him. He's been doing this for a century. He's taken dozens of women. Women with my face. Women with my blood. He's never lost. He's never stopped. But maybe if I tell someone, if I put the story out into the world, it will break the cycle. Maybe the next woman with my face, the one who comes after me, will find this story and know She'll know not to look at the man in the gray coat. She'll know not to go into the woods. She'll know to burn the coat before it finds her closet. I have to go now. The coat is on my bed. It wasn't there this morning, and my daughter just called out from her room. She said, "Mommy, the man says it's time." I'm going to put on the coat. I'm going to walk into the woods. I'm going to say yes, because I can't let him take my daughter. I can't let him take her the way he took my grandmother and her mother and all the women who came before. If you have a daughter, if you have a face that looks like mine, if you ever see a man in a gray coat standing at the edge of the woods, don't look at him. Don't let him see you. Don't let him know your name, because once he knows, he never forgets. And once he chooses you, you can't run. You can only walk into the woods, into the dark, where all the other women are waiting, with their gray coats and their dark eyes and their wide, wide smiles. I'll be there soon. Save a place for me.